Now, everyone's making it in film and TV, but we don't really know how. Here, we uncover the truth. Welcome to the Your Cinema podcast. Welcome to the Your Cinema podcast today. This is the podcast where we explore the truth about the film and TV industry as well as theatre, and we hear it directly from those who are making progress and smashing it in their fields as well. Today we've got a really exciting talent. I came across him many years ago on a program or initiative that we did. And since he's been really going from strength to strength. He's been in Man vs. Bee with Mr. Bean or Rowan Atkinson for Netflix, A Brave New World, which you can see on like BritBox and Apple TV and other places. And last year he was in the Roy Williams classic Sucker Punch, which Daniel Kaluuya and Anthony Walsh were in many years ago as well. And he also recently won an award for Best Supporting Male Actor in a Play at the Black British Theatre Awards. Come on. I introduced to you guys none other than Christian Alifoe. What's going on, bro?
Yes. Good to be here. Finally, we got it in the diary.
Come on.
Trust me. But it's good to catch up with you and chop it up.
Good. Because yeah, man, you're booked and busy. You get it. I wanted to ask you, right, because you kind of touched on it like just before we started recording, but like, how are you feeling right now, man?
Yeah. Right now, I was even chatting with one of my friends when I was driving on the way down back to my flat, and I was like, bro, I feel like I'm here now, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I can truthfully say that now. I think there's been times when I've been putting on that front or that mask to act like everything's cool and everything's sweet. But now when I say that, I say it with chest. You know what I mean? I say it with chest. Like,
yes.
I'm here and I'm good and I'm ready. I'm just ready to work, man. I'm ready to keep pushing and keep elevating.
I love that. So just to even unpack that a little bit, right? What's been happening for you in the past 3 years?
3 years. Ooh. I think, do you know what it is? I think for sure, battling imposter syndrome.
Oh, wow.
Like, can I do this? Like, this is a tough industry and we all know that. This is what we're taught, or not taught, but this is what they say, even in drama school, it's difficult. Don't expect to leave here and just fly. And that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? I left Identity in just at the start of 2020, 2019, January. And it was tough, man. Like auditioning, no's. And it's like, damn, this industry is hard. Like they weren't really capping about this. So I think a lot of the time I've been battling imposter syndrome for the past 3 years, going through that, training. And there was a period when it just wasn't working for me, man. Like I was turning up to workshops, wasn't prepared, flopping. Like, yeah. Like there's been periods when I've just been not at it at all, man. And I've now looking back, I'm so thankful for those times because now I know you can't cut corners. Like everything has to be, do you know what I mean? It has to be 100% every time because everybody else wants that role as well. So if you're not turning up and you're not being your best, don't expect to get anything from this. You know what I'm saying? And so I think for the past 3 years, I've been going through that. And now I'm in a place where I feel like I'm operating as best as I can. And that's being reflected in the work that I've booked and the work that I'm in the rooms that I'm into now. It's like I'm ready for those rooms. But 3 years ago, no chance.
Wow. So you know what, right? I love that. It's amazing to see the growth because you've mentioned imposter syndrome, but then you've also dovetailed it with professionalism, right? Was like, are they linked, do you think? When you look back on how you were feeling, how do you feel like they were linked, if they were?
Yeah, I think it is linked because if you're absolutely prepared to the best of your ability, you're being professional, you know all your lines, you've done the inside work before you've entered the room, you're not going to feel like an imposter because you know you've done the work. And that's all that matters. You've done the work and you're turning up and you're giving your interpretation of what you think that scene is. And maybe subconsciously back then, I'm questioning myself. I'm not sure if this is the right choice. I'm not sure if I'm hitting it. What are they thinking? Are they thinking I'm doing it right? Do I look weird? All of those things running through your head, and that can just be seen. It's really obvious when an actor's going through those cogs in their head. You can see that they're not present. And I know, looking back now, I was that actor. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is where the imposter syndrome comes from, because deep down, you know when you're on it and you know when you're not. I think everybody
Mm.
knows that. So yeah.
Do you know what? I love that, right? Because years ago there was a job that I had, not too long ago actually, and there was a time where I was cutting corners, like
Mm,
doing just enough to
mm,
do what I needed to do, but I felt like I felt like my boss at the time was picking up on it,
right.
and I don't think he actually was. But I felt like that. And I remember I was talking to my mum and it was giving me, I don't, it feels like such a buzzword, but I was really anxious. I was
Mm,
like
mm,
anxious a lot of the time. Like anytime I had a meeting with him. And I remember I was just like, I ended up speaking to my mum about it. And she said to me, she was like, but are you doing the work?
ah,
And that question broke that thing for me because I was like, oh no.
yeah.
That's what has been making me anxious because I haven't been doing the work. So I'm like, you're gonna find out today.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's so interesting that you're like, no, when you dusted yourself off and said, nah, there's no cutting corners here. Let's
Mm,
go and do this.
mm,
It reminds me of, like, I think I've said this before, like when you wear a nice outfit that you know is nice, it doesn't matter if anyone rates it or not,
trust me.
or even if they see it or not, because it's like,
This
this
is
is
me.
so good.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's all
Yeah.
that matters. I feel clean. I feel ready. Like I'm not seeking that validation from outside. You know, it's here within.
Mm,
And I
mm,
think that is a confidence that every actor should strive to get to. And it's not easy to do that though.
mm.
You know, it's not easy. You know, we throw it around saying, you know, be open, be free, be comfortable in yourself and all of those things and bring that to the role. But those things take time, you know. Those things take time and life. Now I understand why all of the acting teachers say life experience is the experience you need to, I guess, become a better actor and to draw on certain things, because when you've got that wealth of experience in life, whatever stage that is, if you've been through, I don't know, whatever you've been through, that's there, and it's like a pool of things you can just, you know what I mean, jump
Yeah,
into. So I get that now.
I
It took
love
a while
that.
to get here. Took a while to get here, but maybe it was on time. You know
I
what I
love
mean?
I love that. Always, always. So, like, given everything that you've been through and overcoming imposter syndrome and really just looking back at your career,
Mm.
even though we're at the very beginning,
Yeah.
what would you say has been the most pivotal moment for you so far?
Ooh. I think it was winning the award, 100%. I think for me, that was like a, okay, how do I want to say this properly? So although awards aren't everything, they mean something. And it's like that was a stamp of approval for me that I can do this and I can be recognized for this and I can be seen by this. Like, you know what I mean? This is what I do. This is what I am. And I think it was that stamp of approval for me, especially the night after. I was like, rah. I woke up. I was like, rah. Actually, yeah, I did that. You know, like my work is. I'm seen. I'm here now. And for me, that was okay. Cool. The hard work starts. You know, I've worked hard to get here, but for me, it wasn't a case of cool. Yes, you know what I mean? I've blown, like, not at all. no way. This is literally where the hard work starts. And so I think that's changed my mindset just to be professional, hungry as ever. And let's just get it, man. Let's show up every audition as best as I can because you only get that one shot, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to mess it up as I have done in the past before by not being completely ready.
I love that. I love that, right? Because from the start, right, you've spoken about arriving, and I was thinking, okay, do we touch on it or not? But you've touched on it in the best way, right? Because I'm like, okay, but there's still loads to do in it.
Yeah.
But you are so aware of that because you're like, no, no, I've arrived. There's a point that I wanted to arrive at,
Yes.
and now the work starts.
Yes.
So what is that point?
I think that point for me is that's a good question, man. That's a very good question.
Because I know the point. I
Yeah.
know the point, but I just wanna. I
Yeah.
wanna.
Yeah. I think what that point is this is what I do. Like I'm an actor, you know, and the work I do has meaning. It has impact. And it's like you have a responsibility, whatever role you do, how big or small, to absolutely give it your all. And it even depends on like the scales of what it is. So I'm not talking about it has to be something that's on Apple TV or Netflix or the Royal Court. Even if it's a small promo vid that I did the other day for a theatre show that's coming out in the new year, that's just a trailer. But I took that so seriously as if I was on the national. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the point where I'm at, where everything is the same to me. The work is the work, and I'm not fazed by the scale of it because, look, it's at the end of the day. If it's Netflix, it's still a script. If it's a off West End show, it's still a script. It's the same process. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm happy to be here. If that makes sense.
Wow. So it's a personal point. It sounds like a personal point of arrival, as opposed to an industry point of arrival.
A bit of both, though. A bit of both.
Yeah. Okay.
100%. Like personally and
Mm.
industry as well, because it's showbiz at the end of the day. Like, let's not fight it. This
Mhm.
industry
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
about visibility. It's about what have you done. Sometimes it can be rubbish, but that's the monster. That's the game we're in. So I understand that as well. Yeah,
Mm.
it is about the work, but it's also about being seen. And if you want to be seen, you got to show up and talk about it. You know what I mean?
You know what? I love the point that you're at because it's very balanced.
Mm,
It's very balanced. There's that deep, somewhat spiritual point of personal growth, and there's also that reality of like, you know what? A big show will help my career, and I'll also decide, all right, cool, there's that balance between art and maybe who is the director, because that can help me, which people always talk about. Do you know what I mean? It's not
yeah,
every day you can get like a Get Out or like something that's so deep but so commercial as
exactly.
well. Like, yeah, I love
Right.
that. But
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
interesting,
Yeah. So
interesting.
for me, play the game.
I love that.
Mm,
All right. Well, one thing I really wanted to speak to you about, and it's such a shame that I didn't get around to watching it, right? Is Sucker Punch.
mm,
I so badly, I remember I wanted to go to the one in Hornchurch, and I
yeah.
just didn't get around to it. And then when I did, it was somewhere else far. I was like,
Yeah. We were gone, man. Like, yeah.
yeah, like ten shows, like, and especially with Shem in it as well. I was
Yeah, man. Big up
like, I want to
Shem.
see that.
Mm.
So what was it like touring that play?
Oh, my days. Sucker Punch. That was one of the best experience I've had acting wise. Like touring that play. And I think it was where we toured it as well, because the National had partnered with Hornchurch to create the First Nations partnership where they're taking, I guess, ethnically ethnic minority plays into places where people don't really see these kind of plays. So we
Mm-hmm.
were going to places like, off the top of my head, we were in Ipswich, we were in Sunderland, and people had never seen this kind of work. So it was like, a wow, like this
Really?
is this is what we've been crying out for in these cities, because we don't get this kind of work. So it was a proper, like, what's the word? It was touching, because it's like, rah, this is having a massive impact. I remember speaking to like an elderly man, a black man, after the show in Sunderland, yeah, and he was like, amazing, absolutely loved this. Like, I felt seen. I was from the '80s in this time, and we just don't get work like this, and I'm so thankful. And he was so like emotional about it, and I was like, rah, man, like art really can have that effect. So it was a lot of that on that side of
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but then at the same time, the reality of doing a show for 5 months on the road as well, it's not glamorous. Like, it's not glamorous at all. There are some days
Mm-hmm.
when you don't feel up to it. Like, you're tired, you can't be bothered, and you're like, but rah, this what I've been praying for? Isn't this what I've wanted all the time? But of course it is. But there's also a reality at the end of the day that some days you're not going to be up for it. So it's also taught me how to still do the work and still do it to the best of your ability, even when you're feeling like, nah, not really today. But hey, people have paid to see you, people have come to watch. So you better park that, and you better park it somewhere, put it on a handbrake. You know what I'm saying? Until you're ready to come back. So it's been a good learning curve in that respect as well, man.
Wow. So you know what, right?
Mm.
Given the reality of like 5 months on the road, because that makes so much sense. You're not. It's not one city for one night.
Nope.
You're there for some time, and
Damn.
then that's so
I'm in
interesting.
the country.
How did you prepare for that? Because it's physical as well, isn't it? And there's mental, and then there's the craft. So, just
Yeah.
how did you prepare for all of that?
Yeah. Physically, I'll start there. So one, I knew about. Well, I got the role the Thursday, and rehearsal started on the Monday. And I was like, raw, I'm about to have my top off. I'm not in my best shape. So it caught me off guard a little bit. I was like, oh man, I wish I had like 2 months. But don't we all wish we had more time sometimes? You know what I'm saying? So it was like, cool. Okay, cool. So we're in rehearsals, and we had a boxing coach, Gary Cook, who's at Repton Boxing Gym. Loads of people have come from there, like Lawrence Okoli, some big fighters.
Oh, wow.
And then we had Enrique, who's amazing fight director. And between the two of them, we got put through our paces, man. Like,
Really?
physical, like turning up to rehearsals maybe an hour or two before the non-boxers, just working out, skipping, boxing, like getting all of our form right, because it had to be to sell this. You have to believe that we're boxers and we're punching lumps out of each other. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I mean, a
Wow.
play like Sucker Punch doesn't work. So the physical side was, I enjoy it because I am quite a physical person, but to channel that into a show it was so much fun. So much fun, man.
Wow. And that was your first tour, isn't it?
Yeah, first tour, first like lead supporting, role in a big show, like my first ever one, and I'm touring, in such an amazing piece as well. Sucker Punch,
Yeah.
that's a play that the first monologue I picked at Identity was a monologue from Sucker Punch. It was like a full circle moment. Yeah, it's mad. Proper mad. Mm,
So, in terms of you get the role on a Thursday,
yeah,
you've got rehearsals on Monday.
yeah.
How long are you in rehearsals for before you're going on the road?
So how long did we have? I feel like we had about 3 3 weeks of rehearsal, just under
Oh,
4 weeks. Um,
okay.
so
And do you feel that was enough?
mm,
Because it sounds tight to me.
it's tight. It was too tight. I mean, Daniel and the original cast had 6 months, even in terms of physical training. So they had 6 months to really get into the role, shredded and all of that. And we really only have 3 weeks to do that. So myself, Shem, John, the boxers, we were on the crazy regime, man, just trying to get as fit as possible and as cut and as lean as possible in those 3 weeks, because you just find out that you've got the role and then you get into shape. It's not like you're training that hard and you don't
Yeah.
know. So yeah, the physical side was tough, but I feel like the cast was so good and we bounced
Yeah.
off each other so well that the acting just from the first table read, I was like, "Rah, this has been casted like perfectly, man." Yeah.
Really? Oh, nah, that's amazing, man. So, like, I want to get into what it was, what the tour was actually like
Okay.
for you. Like, because you kind of touched on it in terms of like, some days you're not feeling up to it, but
Mm.
where you're like touring
Hmm.
for like 5 months, what is that like? Like, when you go to a city, how long are you there? And then do you guys have a break, or do you have to go?
Okay, cool. So usually, we finished London. Our first stop was Ipswich.
Mhm.
So we were in Ipswich for, I think it was only 4 nights, 4 or 5 nights. So a working week. We were there. You go in, you're welcomed by the artistic director. They show you around the theatre, and then we see the set in their particular theatre, which changes a lot because it's a big boxing ring and different things. So we have a walkthrough of the space, and we have a tech at every single venue we go to. We have a tech,
Mm,
probably on the first morning after we've arrived. So that was usual to get there. New Airbnb,
mm.
you got your bag and everything, assessing the rooms. Everyone's trying to fight for the best room. Fair politics in the cast. Like it was funny. It was funny. Me and Shem going at it. I want this room. Da, 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 da. But yeah, so we'd have a tech, and then it's just getting acquired to the space and feeling the space, and the acoustics are different in different theaters, and yeah. So
Mm.
usually that's what would happen. You go through your shows, and then you have 2 or 3 days off, depending on how many shows were booked at the next venue.
True.
So
Yep,
there
yep,
were
yep.
times when we had 4 days off, 2 days off, and it varied.
Hmm.
But the traveling was long, man. Like long
Really?
from Ipswich, we went up to Leicester, so that was a long drive.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, the traveling was probably the worst part of it.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
just it's not glamorous, it's just not glamorous. That's all I have to say.
I hear you. I
Yeah.
hear you. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. So now that you've done all these long drives, right, and you've had your days off, everything's nice,
Hmm.
and then it's over. Like, how did it feel coming off of your first tour?
Yeah, I think it was a good time because it was summer and like
Okay.
everybody was summertime. It was hot. There was parties
Hmm.
happening, so it was just straight back into the London fast life,
Hmm.
with friends and stuff like that. But then
Yeah.
you can only do that, so many times, and then it's like, okay, so what am I gonna do next? Like you get those show blues. You're like, oh damn, I just finished a show, and you're thinking about how's this gonna materialize into something else. Did enough people see it? Did the right people see it? Are we going to get an extension? So many things are starting to go through my head in terms of how can I capitalize on this show. And so really it was just to sit down with my agent.
Hmm.
And we really chopped it up about what I liked about the tour, what I didn't like. Is there anything
Hmm.
different you want to look at going forward? Um, And then we just sort of re-strategized towards, we've got 6 months now to the end of the year. What is it that we want to try and get or do next? So
Hmm.
kind of that debrief and breathe again, and let's try and squeeze as much out of the second half of the year, man.
Mm.
Mm,
So with that, right? Like, how? I don't know if you want to share, but
sure.
I'm just wondering, like, given that your career is still building, right?
Hmm.
But you've clearly got a competent agent.
Hmm.
When you and your agent are sitting down and make that strategy, what's left for you to do?
Yeah. For me, it's just to keep ready. I think that's what
Mm,
it is for me. And for me personally, I still act like I haven't got an agent. So I try to make connections myself
okay, I
and
got
loop
you.
her in. So I'm still working. Okay, what about this director? He looks good. Let's try and connect with him in some way
Mm,
or her. And so for me, it's the work for me is to keep sharp, keep ready, whether
mm,
that's reading scripts, going to the theatre, doing self tapes with friends, going to workshops. You've
mm.
done the work, but you can't just stop. A footballer doesn't stop training, neither does a boxer after a big fight. They have a break and then they get back on it again. So it's just about doing the work and stay doing what works and what has worked for you. What got you the role? What got you the audition? Your work. So keep doing that. Keep trusting it. And if your
Mm.
agent's doing her job, his job, and you're doing your job, I feel like that will align eventually when it's the right role for you.
Amazing. I
Mm,
love that. I love that. I love that. Now, with that play being so like regarded and the national being involved in that initiative and like it's a revival of a classic, do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So it's nothing small at all.
Mm,
Like the general feeling for an actor who is like, ready to break through and stuff is that doing a job like that is gonna result in career progression and like I don't know a new level of auditions. Is that what you've experienced?
yeah, yeah. I'll be honest. I'll be honest.
Amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Especially in the theatre world, because TV for me, I tend to get good TV auditions, but
Mhm,
theatre was something I've been knocking on the door for a long time, and no doors were being opened. But after
mhm.
this, like, yeah, man, West End, all of those venues are are listening now, which is great, which is great.
Oh,
And so I've seen a jump up in the profile of audition as well, which is amazing, man. Like, I used to pray for times like this, man. So to be able to now be in that position, proper,
yeah.
proper, so grateful. And yeah, let's just see what can happen. There's even towards the end of the year, there was some near misses. Some
Mhm.
great shows coming out next year, theatre
Yeah.
shows. So, but I'm just happy to be in those rooms now.
Man, do you know what?
Mm,
I love that because you've arrived. That is, I guess, this is what I'm perceiving is that
mm,
that is one key point that you've arrived at in terms of crossing over to a certain type of auditions
yes,
now, if that makes
yeah,
sense. I can see it's not exhaustion, but the exhaling
mm,
on your face of like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
man, yeah.
Like I'm considered. I'm in the squad and my call ups are coming, basically.
Yeah, and I feel like and it's not an arrogance thing either. It's just,
No.
it's a state of confidence.
Yeah.
Like you've proved yourself,
Yeah.
and now it's about doing it again and again and again. And when that opportunity comes, again, just be ready to prove yourself again. And so that's exactly where I'm at, man.
I love that. And you're also just stating facts.
Yeah,
Like it just is what it is.
yeah, yeah,
um,
exactly, exactly.
so like when you won Best Supporting Male Actor, which was a
Mm.
huge achievement, and congratulations again, my bro. What was that like just winning that award?
Crazy, like absolutely crazy, because it's a thing where, okay, cool. I've thought about winning awards before. I won't lie to you. I'd be like, bro, I've watched people winning Oscars. I'm like, that would be amazing to be recognized
Mm-hmm.
for your work. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember when the nomination came through, I was like, bro, I was not expecting to get nominated for this play. That's the honest truth. I thought there's been way too many bigger shows, higher profile shows that people would get considered for. And so to win it, it's crazy, man. I had my parents up there. I had like my boy as well there. And just to see like all of that black British scene, so much talent in the room, and to be amongst it and then to go on to win it, I was like, this is what we do this for, man. Do you know what I'm saying? For moments like this, to give yourself that recognition, for people to recognize the quality of the work you're doing, it feels good. It feels good. And yeah, I always think back to Rob when you started this, in 20, like, I don't know, way back. And if you were to tell your younger self you're gonna be nominated for an award in 2023 and win it, he would have been like, "Are you crazy? Like, no, that's not gonna happen." And so I always think back to times like that, and I'm like, "Cool, this is what you do it for, man. So just keep going, keep grounded, and just keep pushing." But nah, amazing feeling, man.
I love that. Humble and confident, man. It's a great balance. Now you winning that award and going on tour with a play like Sucker Punch is like a good immersion into theatre, right? And as you said, like, West End theatres now, by God's grace, they're listening, isn't it? So now that you're getting that glimpse into, like you're getting probably like a better understanding of like how things work, and where certain casting directors can find talent, etc. And there's always been that link between theatre and TV and
100%.
all of that stuff. I want to ask you, from your understanding and the glimpses that you're having, how important is theatre for emerging actors?
I'd say it's so key, man. Like, do not sleep on theatre. Really, really don't sleep on theatre. From your own personal growth perspective, like to be able to do something live, think on your feet when things go wrong and still push through and still own that character and because only you know when you've made a mistake, per se. You know what I'm saying? And so to be able to have that live exercise as an actor, nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. And I was telling a friend after the tour, he was like, how is it? How was doing theatre for that long? And I said, I felt like I've retrained completely.
Really?
Yeah. So now it's a case of just owning the role. It's just weird. I just feel like a completely different actor post-tour to when I started it, for what I thought this game was or how I thought theatre would go.
Really? It's like, how? What's different?
Now I just feel way more confident in my choices, because beforehand, I think there was just still a little bit of doubt. Like, damn, I remember reading the script like, rah, this is a lot. Like, this is a lot. It's just simple as that. And being able to do it constantly, night after night, and finding the newness in the play each night. That is something I've heard as a cliche. Every night's going to be different. It literally is. Every night was just different in the essence of the play, whether that was the audience. And one of our cast members, John Rogers, who, by the way, yeah, people are going to know about John Rogers, but he said the audience is the last character in the show. And I started to see that once we were doing different shows in different places. The reaction we were getting was fueling a different feel of the show every other night. When the kids were in, to when, you know what I mean, to when it was a press night, and that audience gave a completely different energy. And it just feeds into how you perform. And that's only something you can get in theatre. Once it's live and, oh God, I flopped, but I'm going to keep going because they don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? That live, that adrenaline is just, yeah, I wish it for every actor. So if you got an opportunity to do theatre, don't don't look at it downwards. You know, don't look down on it. Sorry, like theatre is definitely and will always have value, man. Always.
I love that, man. I
Mm,
love that. I love that. So I want to know, right? Because you're clearly very focused and confident and driven, right?
mm,
How do you balance hunger
yeah.
and not being consumed by becoming successful?
This is good. This is good. For me, do you know what? It's finding other stuff outside of acting. Like acting should mean a lot to you if you're an actor, because I'm not sure you'll be able to go as far in an industry with so much rejection in it. So it should mean a lot, but it shouldn't mean everything. You know, I found a lot of joy outside of acting. I've started my own podcast with a friend. I'm starting to get into radio, presenting, and so many different things outside of acting that keep me ticking over creatively as well in terms of writing and things like that. So there's other things that I'm genuinely interested in doing alongside acting. I feel like acting is just another branch of what I do rather than it being the heart. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that can help you not be so consumed by the industry, is to just find other things. I'm sure there are things that you can enjoy outside of the industry, just to be a
Hmm.
full-rounded person. And I just always say for people to explore that, find that, whatever that is for you. You know,
I love that, man. I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, Christian, it's been a pleasure
pleasure, man.
speaking with you. Um, Before we go, yeah, I just wanted to know what's on the horizon that you can speak
The
about.
horizon. Nothing confirmed, but there's 2024's already started with some good auditions, and
Oh, amazing.
hopefully I can book some of them. I think with my own podcast as well, that started really nicely, and we've got some plans for that as well. You
Amazing.
might see me in the sports field soon. You
All
know,
right.
yeah, man. There's some stuff cooking outside of the industry as well,
Yeah.
which is really cool. But yeah, hopefully some more impactful work for sure, man. 2024.
I love that, man. I love that. I love that. Well, I wish you all the best, and we will definitely be catching up soon,
Yes,
my
man.
bro. So
Definitely.
thank you.